when you have an impossible problem, when you have an impossible problem to solve, and it kind of feels like it's impossible and there's like no way, a lot of the time there is a way to solve it, and it's just like by doing it a different way, coming at it from a new angle, finding a smarter way to do it, or a different way, some novel way, a new strategy, or a new process, or something like that. And you find a way, and in that way, almost nothing becomes impossible, because it's like once it's figured out how to kind of solve it and overcome it, then it can be, and it is, by someone, maybe not by you, but someone solves it and beats it, tends to. And because of that, it becomes important to ask the right questions, because if anything can be solved, then it's on asking the right questions to figure out what's next, what needs to be asked next, what needs to be worked on next, and what needs to be solved next. I think that's what's most important, and it's because of that that like you can look at your past, you can see any impossible problem that you have, and you figured out how to solve it, um, and you kind of got through it, no matter how impossible it was. That goes to kind of show, or at least create a pattern that typically, if you come across an impossible problem, it'll always be able to be solved in some way at some point eventually, and that can be done by going about it a different way, different strategy, different process, different tactics, working really hard, but then going about it a different way, seeing how that goes, shifting it, tweaking it, and then going at it again. And that way, if what you're working at is meaningful, then you should be able to achieve it, or do good things with it, or make something happen. Makes me think of something Steve Jobs said, that like you look at your world and everything that you see was created by people that were no smarter than you. And I believe that's true. I think it's not people that were any smarter, but people that had the drive and the belief that these things could be done, but they had the drive to do it, and they put the work in, but also there was that belief that it's possible. It's if there's purpose, it's possible to find a way to do it. And this thing that everyone is saying is not possible to do, there is a way to do it, and it's just on finding the way. I think that's true. That's why it's important you ask the right questions, figure out what to do next, what's most meaningful, what would the biggest impact on humanity be, or the most important thing that you could possibly do, something like that. Asking questions like that is really critical and important, and allows you to get the right answers. And with those answers, you can do big things, and it isn't limited by intelligence or resources, or natural ability, or anything like that. I think it's limited only by you, the individual, and whether you go about it the right strategy or not, you figure out how to do it or not, and then once you figure it out, whether you put in the work to do it or not and achieve it or not, that's what it all kind of rides on. And if you think about it in the terms of humanity, there hasn't been anything that's been impossible that hasn't been figured out or solved, or in the process of being solved, or whether that solution being that, oh, like it ends here and nothing else can be done, that I consider that like a solution. If that's by some kind of natural law of physics or something else, and it's within the parameters of some kind of some like limitations of nature or something like that, if that makes sense. But generally, everything that was embarked upon was figured out. All those questions that were asked were answered, and nothing came about that was impossible, that could never be solved or never created or never innovated further or never fixed or changed or bettered in some way. Everything was solved eventually. Everything was fixed eventually. All the questions that were asked were answered so that even bigger questions could be asked, and those are being worked on today. Humanity has continued to progress, and it's all going somewhere. At some point, we'll, I've heard this said before, and I think maybe it's true, we'll face either our own extinction or our own immortality, and I think that's the direction that humanity may be headed, and that's both a beautiful and a scary thing. But as far as our own individual problems and things we face, it always comes back to that, asking the right questions, believing that anything is possible, anything impossible can be solved. There is really nothing that can't be, and like you find a way, you find out if it's meaningful or not. That's what the true question to ask is. If it's meaningful, it can be done, and with that belief, you can do great things, truly impossible things, truly things that people have never done before, or go into any field and become the absolute best of the best. I believe so. I believe that is possible from my own experiences and from seeing others. The best in any field just had the drive, had the desire, put in the work, but have that belief that it truly is possible. That's it. They're not even close to naturally talented, or like not the ones that you likely think would succeed or anything like that, but that belief that it is possible, that it can be done, and then the drive and desire and putting the work in and stuff. And putting the work in includes, if it's not working, you find other ways, other strategies, other processes and stuff. Find a different way, a better way, a smarter way, new angles you can go at it. Like the definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different result, right? So you find new ways to go about it, and in this way, eventually, if done correctly, you solve it, or you figure it out, or you fix it. And also in this way, truly nothing ends up fully impossible. Everything ends up solved at some point, and you continue to progress until extinction or immortality, perhaps. But that's the case for humanity, and perhaps that's the case for us as individuals too, as well. I think that's a nice thing if that's the case. Do those impossible things. Nothing really is impossible, and kind of whatever like impossible problem you have that you can't solve, try and go at it from different angles or different ways. Find out what's meaningful. That's what's most important. That's the most important thing you can possibly do, is find out what's meaningful. What's the most important thing? What would be most meaningful to others, or to your mission, or just to the future, and I guess to others. But you find out what's meaningful and you embark on that. If it's meaningful, it's possible. If it's purposeful, it's possible. If there is purpose, then there's worth in going about it and working to fix it and solve it and do it. And then, but if that purpose is there, then typically it is possible. I think just about anything is, and it's about you, like up to you to go and set out to do it and solve it and truly make it happen. Believe that it can be done, and identify what those meaningful things are and go and do it. Find another way, find the best strategies and processes to go about it, and then just make shit happen.